we want Brett over here.
So here's the requirements. Yes.
Oh, okay. All right, it's 7:02. We'd like to go ahead and get started with our council meeting. So we'd like to welcome you all to our November 14th council meeting. We have just been in a work meeting, so just for those of you that don't know, on any given council night, we always have a work meeting first that starts at 5:15. You're always welcome to join us for that. And then, of course, we have our regular meeting as you are joining us here at 7. My name is Nicole Martin. I'm acting as Mayor Pro Tem tonight. Mayor Watts has notified us that he will not be attending tonight. So we'll move forward with the agenda. Let me get to it. Let's see. And we will start with our pledge, which we, Adam Mockley, am I saying that right? All right, please join us up at the podium for our pledge. And he's with Scout Troop 390.
Excellent. For the audience, please stand. Repeat after me. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Then, do we still give pins? Pins? Do we give pins to the people that do that? Oh, we used to do that. Thank you, Adam. We've got a pin for you that we'll bring over to you. Here, she wanted that. Okay, so the next item of business 1.2 is council disclosure for conflicts of interest. Any conflicts of interest on the agenda items this evening, council?
None.
No. Okay. 1.3, mayor and council comments and recognitions. No? All right. This is moving along. All right, now to public comment. Audience members may bring any item to the mayor and council's attention. Comments will be limited to 2 minutes. State law prohibits the council from acting on items that do not appear on the agenda, but we would like to invite any of those who have a comment to give us tonight to approach the podium. Seeing none, we will move forward with item number 3, mayor and council board and committee reports.
I just have a reminder that the Wasatch Front Waste and Recycle public hearing is Monday night at 6 p.m. and it's to present the budget for the year. So if anybody would like to attend that, that is Monday night at 6.
Okay.
I will report that, as I said, a member of the sewer board representing Herman, their public hearing for their upcoming budget was held last night. And that budget has been approved for the next fiscal year for them. Happy to report that their overall increase was only 1.89% in their budget. Once you, they have to account for depreciation in their budget, so which is obviously a non-number item. But once you take that out, their overall increase in budget was only 1.89% over last year, which I think is really phenomenal given some of the other increases that they incurred with health insurance and some of those other things. I think they are a very well-ran organization, definitely looking out for their customers' best interests. Along with that, there was a resolution passed last night for the early payoff of their 2009 B series bonds, which is just over a little bit of a $30 million payoff that transaction has started to take place. Those bonds are being paid off 15 years early and saving nearly $16 million in interest and being able to pay those off early. So I think that's a testament to the well-run organization and being very fiscally responsible with the money that they collected from their customers.
Councilman Henderson, did you have anything today?
I don't have a board anymore.
Oh, we should find him some more.
Yeah, okay. Sounds like a request.
Negotiations are ongoing for the full divorce, we'll say.
From UPD.
Yes.
I just thought I might mention, just of interest, today was the legislative interim up on the Hill, And as expected, we have a housing bill that has come out, and there's others that are anticipated. Why I think this is of interest, we've talked at length, and we'll continue to talk at length, of the growth of our state. Every city is dealing with growth and trying to plan for it. Every city is dealing with some element of density and causing some level of consternation for their residents. And so with that said, this bill, well, and we've intimated this, the legislature has given some signs that they want to come into the space of land use and planning within cities. Of course, that is something that cities are leery of, the belief that that the local government plans best for the local government, and that when you take levels away from that, that you are not in tune with the people. So with that said, I thought I would just very quickly say this bill, let me get over here. This bill, as it stands right now, makes some pretty, and I'm reading from an email that came out from one of the planners of the state. The bill makes some pretty substantial changes in the general plan section of LUDMA, putting more specifics, let's do that, to what should be included for required moderate income housing plan. Every city is required to submit a moderate income housing plan. We are in compliance with that. What will be different is, of course, they will require that every city submit a moderate income housing plan, and then what this bill also will do, if it's passed, is to tie eligibility for future funding to that moderate income housing plan. So when we need state money, in this case, State Transportation Investment Fund, TIP money, and the Transit Transportation Investment Fund, TTIP, those would be tied to compliance with the moderate income housing plan that the city has submitted. And so we are working, and when I say we, the Utah League of Cities and Towns is working with the legislators to try and come up with a compromise on this bill and other bills in the future, again, so that we're protecting the residents. That we speak for you, and we want to make sure that when we are doing growth planning, that in fact that is taking place at a local level. So we'll continue to keep an eye on that and make sure that we're keeping planning local. Hopefully that's the result of that.
A couple of quick questions
Yeah,
on it,
go
because
ahead.
I've gotten some inquiries from the public on that bill. It seems to me it's kind of aside from the overall requirement that's on the entire plan, what's already been done, right? As far as the moderate income housing plan.
Yeah, we've already submitted our moderate income housing
So
plan.
what it looks like to me is that they're trying to incentivize cities to adding more density, right? So tying those dollars from transportation funds, et cetera, if you put in X amount of density, you can qualify for more money. Is that just, again, for new developments, or are we going to actually get some funding from county, state, et cetera, that we haven't gotten before for the plan we've already done?
It would be new. It would be new. And there's always been discussion as to whether or not the density planning or the inclusion of density in your planning, whether the legislators choose to hold out a carrot or a club. So right now it appears that it's more of a carrot, that that some funding will be, as you point out, incentivized for some level of density. But at this point we don't know, which is why we're trying to compromise. What we don't want is to have the club approach, where it is you will put density of X amount in your community or else. We don't want to get to that scenario. So compromise, very important, but again, this is one bill, and every expectation that there will be more coming down the pipeline.
Thank you.
So we'll keep an eye on them. Okay, moving on to number 4, reports, presentations, and appointments. And we've got a recognition for item 4.1, a recognition of Cindy Call, our garden committee volunteer. And this is Kevin Schmidt will be.
Cindy has been volunteering on the community garden committee for the past 6 years as the outreach coordinator.
Maybe 5 or 6, I don't know.
And part of what she would do is reach out to other gardeners that had extra produce, and she coordinated all the donations that they would donate to the Riverton Senior Center, to the food bank. She helped with communications on the Facebook page, the blog. So we are really grateful for Cindy and the service that she's offered. And she loves the amazing homemaker. So we made her,
Oh, nice.
it's a custom cutting board for her. Awesome. So, and it says, plant dreams, pull weeds, and grow a happy life. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. Item 4.2, 2018 Herman Community Garden Reports. Shauna Heiner, Garden Committee Chair.
I'm just going to kind of give you a general overall of how our year went. We really had a great year this year. We made a goal last year to donate about 2,000 pounds to the places we donate. So we usually donate to the Senior Center, St. Andrew's Food Pantry, and then this year we donated to the Ching Family Farm. So we weighed 1,531 pounds of donations, and halfway through weighing our pumpkins, our weigher ran out of batteries.
Oh, no.
So we estimated it was about a minimum of 500 pounds in addition of pumpkins. So in a total, we donated 2,031 pounds to the St. Andrew's Food Bank this year, which exceeds our goal. And then in addition to that, we donated another 55 pounds to the Ching Family Farm. So all the animals love the old pumpkins and butternut squash and things like that. So one of our gardeners volunteers there and brought that suggestion to us, and we thought that was a great idea to use with some of the ones that maybe weren't edible for humans. We had 48 total plots this year. That includes 18 double plots that are about 10 foot wide by 30 foot long, 30 single plots, which are 5 foot wide, 30 feet long. Gardeners get their choice of a double or a single. We had a total of 34 gardeners this year, 20 new gardeners, 14 returning, and 5 of those gardeners had multiple plots within the garden. Of the plots that we used for charity, there was a total of 7. So those ones were planted specifically by donations of plants from our garden members to plant and grow and care for, and all that food was donated from there. And I guess, do you guys have any other questions? It's kind of a summary for our year. We're looking at doing a couple of things next year as far as doing seed exchanges, doing a canning class. I was going to research some stuff with the Utah State, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They do canning classes and gardening classes, see what else we could kind of bring to educate our gardeners to kind of help them improve their produce that they grow for them and their families. So yeah, do you guys have questions, feedback, anything?
I do. Are you guys at capacity then, or do you utilize all your space?
We do utilize all of our space. What we do is, depending upon how many people want to be in the garden that year, we'll lengthen or shorten our plots. So we've been 48's usually about our average, but we can increase it by 6s. We'll do 20 feet, 25 feet, or 30 feet, and just depending upon the interest. But we do like to keep kind of the back row where the water doesn't always get to for charity plots so that we can donate to our community, so.
Cool.
How many years has the community garden been going?
How many?
I know, I can't remember.
I've been doing it for 8. I think Gene, he's been 9, so, and a few more years before that, so probably 10 or 11. We're not, there's been so many ins and outs, I'm not even sure when it started, so.
Good.
Wow.
His neighbor.
Don't say
So
that.
I heard from a neighbor by the garden. They actually told me that you do a really good job, and they can kind of remember when it wasn't taken care of so well. And so they wanted to pass on to you all that appreciate the respect and nice job. You keep the weeds down, and then after the season's done, how well you cleaned it off. So just want to pass that on to you.
We'd like to know if you have any comments about the neighbor. Being unruly or hard to
Heard
deal
the
with.
neighbor can be very difficult
Yeah,
at times.
difficult.
Really?
Especially if it's
We'll
his weeds are a
accept
problem.
any comments about the neighbor as well.
Can we make music requests?
Music requests. Thank you for your time there. It sounds like you guys are doing a tremendous job, and to be able to donate that much weight in produce is amazing. That's very impressive.
We're very grateful for the garden. We all really love it, and So we are grateful, and we also want to thank you. We got some tools this year and some meat for a barbecue to kind of celebrate, and we appreciate that you guys were able to provide that, and our gardeners wanted to say thank you as well. So thank you.
Thank
Pass
you.
on our thanks to all of them
Yeah.
for all they do.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Awesome.
thank you.
Okay, moving on. Item 4.3, Salt Lake County Animal Control Quarterly Report, and we'll hear from Carrie Seibert. Am I saying that right?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And she's the Community Liaison Coordinator.
Yes. Thank you. Good evening. I'm here to present your third quarter report. And is it going to be on in a second? So to start off, we did have a very busy third quarter. It's usually when we host our most busy events as well as our largest events, and we had very successful quarter. To go through, maybe you get there. All right, So to just highlight a few of the director's notes, hopefully you can read it. But this is to really highlight our outreach department because, again, this is their busiest time of the year. Summers tend to be busy all around, but for events, our outreach and marketing really shine during this time. We hosted our largest Petapalooza adoption event ever. It continues to grow each year. We also had our Spaghetti event, which I will highlight a little later. But in total, we've held over 150 events this year so far. And for such a small team of only 6 coordinators, this is a huge feat. They are responsible for programming like our fosters, volunteers, humane education, rescue, all of the ins and outs that really make us a no-kill shelter. So without them, we wouldn't be able to maintain that status. So we wanted to really highlight their awesome work. And they also maintain relationships across the county with local partners to help fundraising, rescue agencies that assist us with some animals. So our outreach team is amazing, so we really wanted to take this time to highlight them. On this next slide, you'll see our agency statistics. So this is overall. We ended the third quarter with just under 95% save rate for cats and dogs. If you add in other animals such as livestock, reptiles, any of those, we finished it out with 92%, and we received just over 6,700 animals so far. For Herman City, you finished out the third quarter with 235 animals entering our shelter and a save rate of 95%, almost 96% on cats and dogs, and 95% including other animals as well. So lots of animals' lives that have been saved. Licenses sold, we have almost 1,200 that were sold, and microchips, we had 105. Rabies, 78 vaccines. Bordetella is our kennel cough vaccine. We had 72 of those sold. FVRCP, that's the annual cat vaccine. We had 30 of those, and DHPP is the annual dog vaccine with 94. At the top of this table in orange, you'll see our priority response times, and this is in minutes. We ranked our priority 1, 2, and 3. Those are our highest priority calls. Priority 1 being our most dangerous or high-risk calls. So with a quarterly average of 33 minutes. Priority 2 with 49, and priority 3 with 75. After our calls, the number of calls between 1700, so about 5 p.m., until 7 in the morning, we had a total of 148. And weekend calls, which would be Saturday and Sunday, of 82. We are one of the only agencies in the valley that does after hours and overnight, even weekends. So we do take pride in how many calls we're able to assist the public with. And below in green, this is the total number of calls we received through dispatch and the types of calls. So we finished out third quarter with 318 calls so far. We did want to include in quarterly reports now employees of the month, so everyone can recognize what amazing staff that we have. Megan Allred won July. She is our foster coordinator, so she runs all the foster homes, seeks getting animals into temporary housing, whether they're injured, have behavioral issues, or perhaps they're neonatal and they need some care before they can find a forever home. She runs that overall program and has saved many lives. Matt Asaf and Kim Karen are part of our animal care specialists. This is a very physical job in our back area where they care for the animals, they clean them, they're intaking any newcomers, doing vaccinations, and overall care of the shelter. So very physically demanding, very hardworking staff. We also wanted to highlight our volunteers of the month. Volunteers, we wouldn't be able to do what we do without them. They are absolutely vital to our agency. So highlighting volunteers of the month, we have Tracy Harrison, Lindsay Wood, and Ellen Grove. They provide so much assistance to our shelter that they are absolutely amazing. So each quarterly report, you'll see the employees of the month as well as volunteers of the month. Third quarter highlights, as I said, we had a few huge events. Our Spaghetti and No Balls gala dinner. It was a huge fundraising dinner. We had over 60 donors donate all sorts of prizes that were auctioned off. It was held at Caputo's. In previous years, we gained about just under $10,000. This year, we really raised the stakes and raised over $30,000 for our spay and neuter program. It was such a successful event. This will be an annual event, and so we're hoping that next year's will be even bigger.
Now, we've got to give the clever call out. Who came up with that?
That our outreach department, they love puns.
They're very clever, because I've noticed other names that they have used. So
yes.
along. We appreciate their creativity.
We have a whole list of puns that we use for everything. Our Petapalooza, this is our largest adoption event that we host, and we had over 50 vendors, food trucks. Rojas Brewing hosted a beer garden. We had live entertainment, 25 sponsors, and over 10,000 attendees. So this was our largest one ever, and we found homes for 135 animals, and this is anywhere from cats to dogs, reptiles, birds, rabbits. We had everything there. So again, this is also annual, so you'll be seeing that coming up this year or this next year as well. Rescue plays a huge role in our no-kill status. Our rescue department maintains relationships not only with local rescues, but nationwide. So we have animals going all over the place. So far at the end of the third quarter, we had 918 animals. I just looked it up today, and we're nearly 1,200 animals that we have sent to rescue. These are animals that we may not have had the resources to provide a new home for, so they may be a bit more difficult, may be severely injured and need additional resources to find that perfect home, whereas these rescue agencies have those available, so we can transfer them over to a no-kill rescue to find their home rather than limiting their options. So they play a huge role in as how many animals we save each year. Again, third quarter events, we did a number of parades, including Herman this year. Our Petapalooza, those are just a few photos, as well as with Spaghetti. On your online share drive, you have an immense amount of photos that we've done with events throughout the year, including more of the parade, Petapalooza, even patrols that we've had around the city. So the online share drive, if you want more photos, you're more than welcome to check that out. And to highlight a few programs, again, volunteering, we're always seeking to increase the amount of volunteers we have. We have a wide variety of opportunities available. Even if you're not comfortable working with animals, if you have a skill that we can utilize, photography, handyman, anything, we would definitely love your help. Group projects, we have school groups, companies coming out to help us. So at the bottom there is Hannah's contact information. She is our volunteer coordinator, so if anybody is interested, they can reach out to her and see what they'd be able to help us with. Our TNR program is also a huge contributor to our no-kill status. This is the community cat program, as it's also known as, for community cats around the valley. Rather than limiting their options as well, this program provides another opportunity for feral cats and help stabilize those populations so they're not growing out of control. So again, if the community is seeing cats free roaming in their area, there is Rebecca Lane's contact information. She is our TNR coordinator, so she can offer assistance. And then to finish out the presentation, I did want to highlight a few events that we have coming up. I don't have flyers for these yet, but I did set out a few flyers by the front entrance. We have our November free Building Better Behaviors workshops. This is free to residents. It's dog training classes. They vary each month, so it's always a new class and whole new variety each month. I did set out flyers out front, so if anybody's interested. We also have our Giving Tuesday fundraising event. We have several events going on in support of this, and we have the theme of cats versus dogs, who can raise the most amount of money. Right now it's kind of dead even, but this money does go towards our programs. And this weekend we have Meowvember, there's your pun. It's our cat adoption event that's on the 16th and 17th. All cat adoptions will be pick your price. So residents can pick whatever they want to pay for the adoption, starting at a minimum of $1. We have a ton of cats, we have kittens, so if anybody's looking to adopt a cat, now is the time. We also have cats with yoga. So we have a yoga class that is being held, one in November, one in December. It is being held with an actual yoga instructor, and we will have cats out on the floor performing yoga with you, and they are available for adoption. And if anybody is interested in learning about any other events that we have going on, we want you to go to our Facebook page at Salt Lake County Animal Services, and you can get more event details, sign up for these workshops if you want, and any others that we have going on. Are there any questions? I do apologize, I am getting over a cold, so I sound
Councilman
a little
Smith,
weird.
did you have any questions? No?
No,
Thank you
thank
so
you.
much.
Thank
Very
you.
impressive.
Tremendous
Yeah.
work that you
Want me
guys
to
are
leave this
doing.
up here? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and please, pass, more fun. Keep the fun coming. You should enjoy your job, and I can tell you do. Okay, so we'll, council, move on to item 5, the consent agenda. 5.1, approval of the October 10th, 2018 and October 24th, 2018 City Council meeting minutes. What? Oh, okay, and then 5.2, approval of a resolution approving an interlocal cooperative agreement between the state of Utah and Herman City for the Herman City Police Department's participation in the United States Department of Defense Law Enforcement Support Program. And then lastly, approval of an ordinance granting a franchise to the Utah Telecommunication Open Infrastructure Agency pursuant to a franchise agreement. I will accept a motion.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as written to, that's all.
I will second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call vote. Councilman Henderson.
Yes.
Councilwoman Orn.
Yes.
Councilman Smith.
Yes.
And I vote yes, so the motion carries. Okay, item 6, 6.1, discussion and consideration of an ordinance authorizing a text change to the Land Development Code to revise the home occupation chapter. Michael, there you are.
Okay, this is an item that the City Council has had 2 different briefings on and some follow-up discussion. Primarily, we focused on some potential amendments to what the Planning Commission had recommended to the Council for adoption, dealing with group instructions. I re-listened to our meeting minutes in October, and I tried to capture what seemed to be either clear ideas, clear options, or maybe something that had at least a minority consent on. I prepared these for your consideration. They're in your staff report. One way maybe that the council could address these is kind of do a thumbs up or thumbs down as far as whether or not there's a majority opinion on the council, if you want to include any of these options in the recommendations that is before you tonight. So I'm here to however you want to proceed on whether or not you want to include or address any of these options, again, following your conversation last month on this topic.
Who wants to go first?
Go ahead.
Take it.
I'm not in favor of option one. I think that having a shared driveway, that it definitely creates an issue for the other property owner. Option two, increasing the number of sessions from 2 to 3, I think is problematic as well. From the data we saw, most other cities seem to limit it to 2.
2, and that's in your report as well, the chart that we prepared for you.
I do like adding a maximum number of students per session. And I guess maybe for public consumption, a lot of what our discussions have been on in the work meetings is that some of the way it's currently written might prohibit people in multifamily developments from being able to do some of these things, but I think we have to recognize that there are, because of the nature of those developments, there is more, I don't know what the right word is, there is more strain on the adjacent property owners. And so it's kind of a catch-22. So I like the maximum number of students because it helps alleviate that a little bit. And well, I think option 3 and 4, kind of the same thing. I like limiting the number of students and the number of sessions per day.
I would support all of those recommendations.
Likewise. Councilwoman Orn, any thoughts?
No. So are you saying you like option 2 better than option 4?
I'm saying I don't like option 1, and for option 2, I would prefer to limit it to 2
Right.
rather than 3.
The current draft has 2, so you wouldn't need to use option 2 if you prefer to keep track 2.
Yeah.
8.
Yeah.
But limiting, so you would,
8
what you're saying,
per
Jared, is
session.
limiting it to 2 sessions per day.
2
and capping
sessions
it at
with 8.
a max of 8 students per
Yeah.
session.
So option 3 would be what it sounds like
Option 3.
Councilmember Henderson would support.
I concur.
Yes, as well.
Pretty much the same thing. yeah.
Okay. So this is an action item, ready for council to make a motion.
Okay, so I will accept an emotion.
I just want to just clarify, just for consumption, that this is just home occupation. So the reason these are limited is because the primary purpose is to have a home.
Right.
And so if you want to have an occupation in that home, there'll be some limitations on that. And if you want to pursue more than that and you want to have way more than that, great. We have facilities, some vacancies here and there, or
Correct.
let's build a building to have that type of a business.
Right, this would not impact any commercial dance classes that we have or commercial daycare operations that we may have in the community. This is just for within the home.
Yeah.
It's
This is
just-
specific to some type of instruction in a home-based business.
Right,
Yeah, it's just so that we don't lose focus on that it's a home and dramatically impact the neighbors in that area by increased traffic and things like that.
I think that's a good point to bring up as part of the public discussion that we've been talking about, is that this part of the reason we have is different zones, right? So as a property owner buying a residential property, I should be able to expect that my property rights are respected in relation to that zone. And I mean, there's some things that can be done with minimal impact to other people's property rights, but once you're trying to cross over that threshold, then that's where you go to the commercial zones, et cetera.
Yeah, so that's why, I mean, we definitely should allow these types of uses. It's good use of some facilities, but we just can't cross the line, like Jared said, by taking the use away from
So
residents.
this is an attempt to achieve a balance between the
Exactly.
different rights. So with that said, I will accept a motion.
All right, I'll motion to approve I'm looking at the wrong one. Motion to approve ordinance number 2018-36, authorizing a text change to the Land Development Code to consolidate or modify home occupation regulations. How do you want me to?
Yes, go through specifics.
I think just number 3 is all you need to add, correct?
Option 2 and 3, or option?
yeah, option 3, and that will affect paragraph 10-22-8. And there's 5 standards currently, and then this will be adding number 6. Yeah,
Option 3 with what he said.
All right, you've got what you need. All right, so
I will
have
second.
a motion and I have a second. We'll need a roll call vote. Councilman Henderson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Orn,
Yes?
Councilman Smith,
Yes.
and I vote yes. That motion carries. Okay, item 6.2, discussion and consideration of an ordinance authorizing a text change to the Land Development Code to revise alcohol regulations. Michael.
Again, this is an item that we have talked with the council about. As you all know, there were a number of changes made to the state code last year. We have alcohol-related regulations in both our business licensing section of our city code as well as the land development code. This first part is amending the land use table to use language that is consistent with the state requirements or state licenses that they issue. They are essentially identifying more types of uses. And we've also, as a residential community, as we're beginning to see more interest in commercial growth, we talked with the council about that we will have more interest in restaurants and hotels and other services that will want to apply for an alcohol license. So it was the council's direction that we include all of the different types of licenses that the state regulates. And all of this, again, will be subject to state review and permitting. But this allows for these businesses to at least request a letter from the city to facilitate an application with the state for that license.
And they would have to go through the local consent process.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, I will accept a motion.
I will make a motion to approve ordinance number 2018-37, authorizing a text change to the Land Development Code, Chapter 16, Table of Uses to add several alcohol licenses.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second, and we'll go through a roll call vote. Councilman Henderson.
Yes.
Councilwoman Orn.
Yes.
Councilman Smith.
Yes.
And I vote yes, that motion carries. All right, item 6.3, looks like we've got you earning your money tonight. Discussion and consideration of an ordinance repealing Chapter 3, Article A of Title 3, Alcohol and Beer, and replacing it with a new Article A, Alcoholic Beverages Licenses.
Again, this is from Title 3, Business Licensing. This does not require a recommendation from the Planning Commission. So you are the authority, the legislative authority, of course, to adopt this or to review this and consider it for adoption. Again, this is consistent with state code. However, we did, in researching what some of the other cities around us have done, we've included 3 statements in your packet, and these are the same 3 items where we proposed a limitation in addition to what the state requires, dealing with how many licenses that we may issue or approve as a city as far as our part. And again, it still has to go through the state. The state will look at location, physical characteristics, the applicant's ability to manage and operate the location, nature or type of operation, and a number of other factors that are all quoted in state regulation. So it's as we all know, it's a heavily regulated land use. But we wanted to highlight these 3 particular points because this is more restrictive than what the state code requires. At one time, we had talked about just following the state code. We didn't do that because based on, again, what we're seeing in our neighboring communities, this seemed to be a little more consistent with what was happening. Another thing that some council members has asked for, just some of you may know that the State Division of Alcohol and Business, or the DABC, they issue tavern permits at 1 per 54,147 residents of the state. So that's their ratio. They can't issue more than our population allows. And then currently, we have 10 off-premise, essentially beer retailers. That's our Maverick grocery store, convenience store, our grocery stores, other gas stations and things like that. So we have 10 of those types of licenses, and then we have 2 essentially restaurant-type licenses. The Bout Time, which came before you to have an amendment to be regulated as a bar by the state. And then there's another restaurant, the Himalayan Spice House, which also has a liquor license. So those are the 2 restaurants that have a liquor license currently through us and through the state.
And again, based on the research you have done as your staff, this 1 per 4,000 of population that you found to be consistent with what our surrounding communities are doing.
Some cities are more restrictive, some are less, but it seemed like this was a little more consistent with some of our neighbors, so.
But generally, the approach from each of those communities was a population-based formula.
Yes, not always, but yes.
Any other questions, council? Okay, if not, I'll accept a motion.
I'll motion to approve ordinance number 2018-38, repealing Chapter 3, Article A of Title 3, Alcohol and Beer, and replacing it with the new Article A, Alcohol Beverage Licenses.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. A roll call vote. Councilman Henderson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Orn?
Yes.
Councilman Smith?
Yes.
And I vote yes, that motion carries. So that brings us to the end of our agenda for tonight. We've got some calendar items that we can go through. We've got Planning Commission meeting on the 15th and December 6th. We do only have one council meeting in December, and that will be on the 12th. And then in terms of events, we've got the Night of Lights on December 3rd, Herman Yeti Hunt, December 5th through the 20th, Santa Visits on December 7th, and Pancakes and PJs on December 15th. So lots of fun things happening. Do we need to go to a closed session tonight?
Yes.
We do? Okay. Okay, I will take a motion to go into closed session. Well, no, first, a motion to adjourn city council.
We got to go close.
Oh, we got a closed
Yeah.
session. All right, I'll take a motion.
Let me read this one.
Yep, go for it.
All right, motion, so Jackie, tell me if I'm wrong. Motion to temporarily recess the city council meeting to convene in closed session for the purpose to discuss the purchase, exchange, or lease of real property as provided by Utah Code annotated 52-4-205.
I will second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. We need a roll call vote to go into closed session. Councilman Henderson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Orn?
Yes.
Councilman Smith?
Yes.
And I vote yes, so we will move into closed session.
Thanks for coming. And thanks for saying the pledge.
Made it through the whole thing.